Hey, how's everybody doing? Today I want to walk you through the fish tanks, do a little tour. Got some new products I want to put into the tanks. I got some fish that are growing up. I want to show you those things. So let's go ahead. I'm going to walk you through, do my little morning feeding. If you're new to the channel or you're not already, if you could, go below, subscribe to the channel so you know when I upload new videos. And along the video, if you like how it's going, give me a thumbs up and then leave me a comment below. Just let me know how you're doing today, what you like, what you don't like, what you'd like me to show more of. Any of that stuff helps out, and I'd like to communicate back and forth through there as much as I can. But let's go ahead and jump into the video. We can start over here. We have a 55-gallon tank. So this is my tank with all of my fancy guppies. This one's probably doing the best out of all my guppy tanks right now. I've just been breeding for hardiness and color, just a variety of stuff. Every once in a while I'll go through whenever I sell the males and females that are of size, and I'll kind of make my selections for the next generation. I know they're all crossbreeding and we're getting multiple traits in there, but I'm just enjoying it, honestly. I think that's the best thing with guppies is you can get super specific or you can kind of just let them go, and right now I'm kind of letting them go and I think they're doing well. We have some nice females getting some nice long fins in here, like this one right here. Let's see, she's starting to get like a nice trail fin. Males have more of those cobra patterns. Some have like a delta tail, some have more of like a flame tail, but I like them all. And then we have the bristlenose plecos. I like doing these watering plant stakes for my pleco caves. They work really well. We got some long fins, we got some albinos, some lemon blue eyes. There's a nice one on that back wall with the long fins. And then I don't know if I got any calicos in this tank. I don't think so, but I got some babies in there. I'm gonna go ahead and feed these guys. I like to feed Guppy tropical flakes, if I can reach it up here. And I kind of cut little holes up here, makes it easier feeding. Do some flakes. And in this tank it's 2 algae wafers. But yeah, they kind of just go nuts in here. I like this tank. It's probably my favorite Guppy tank, like I said. But we'll kind of go through. I won't spend too much time on any of these tanks. We got the moss growing in there. This would be a good like breeding for profit tank. You're breeding the guppies, the bristlenose plecos. You can sell some plants. I got like the floating plants. I got the moss. So if you were to kind of maximize this tank, and that's one thing I want to get better at, or start hiring some people to help me with, maybe do some online shipping, do eBay with plants and things like that. I can do fish online and more local sales. But something like this, if I were to maximize it even more, this tank could definitely be a nice little fun tank to have in the bedroom, in the family room, and it actually will pay for itself after maybe 6 months or so if you can buy stuff at the right price and keep selling them and kind of do more quantity. Yeah, it'd be a cool little tank, and I'd be willing to do a breakdown on that whole process and do a kind of a specialized video. Maybe something in the future. Jumping over here, we got the little 9-gallon Flex saltwater aquarium. Enjoying this. I got a damsel in there and 2 clownfish. They're just kind of begging for food right now, so let me try to see if I can't get in and out of this tank with the camera in my hand. So for this tank, I was fighting algae for a while, but I got some crabs in there, which helped. And I've been putting the blue lights on mostly, and that helped a whole lot. You just can't keep the bright white lights on this tank for 10-12 hours. Kind of something you know, but every once in a while it kind of slips up on you. You kind of start to forget what you're doing differently. I like to let the algae grow on the back wall and just kind of keep the glass up front clean. But yeah, this is a fun tank. They're always super aggressive for food. Hardly ever have to do any water changes on this tank. Because only 2 or 3 fish, small tank, small feeding, and honestly the algae growth kind of helps break down some of the nitrates as well. You can see the hermit crabs back there crawling around. But yeah, this is a fun tank. I have kind of a kit for my customers. I do aquarium maintenance as well. This is a nice little starter saltwater aquarium kit. Get you into the hobby with saltwater without being crazy expensive and a little bit intimidating. So really like this tank, real simple. It's probably more food than I normally would feed them, but let's keep moving to the next tank. Over here is another one of those 9-gallon fluval tanks. So this is the one with the black lid. It's instead of the white. I like the white, but I also wish it still had the black background. I'm not really sure how I feel about it. But right now this tank's kind of just hanging out. A couple of fish here from customers. They were moving tanks and they gave them to me. So I like to quarantine them and then I'll kind of repurpose them for someone else along the lines. They had some glow tetras and neons that I had in here that I gave to someone else after I quarantined them, put some meds through them. And then we got these 2 tetras left and then a lot of moss in there. We got to find another place for it eventually. But yep, cool little tank, kind of fighting the glare, but keep moving through. Over here we have another 55-gallon tank. This is another one of the Guppy breeding tanks. And let me go ahead and close some blinds, see if I can't help this glare. Got it a little better, not perfect. We won't spend too much time here. It also helps a lot. I need to pull out some of these plants. The plants are kind of a love-hate because one thing, we see what I'm doing here, they grow so thick it's hard for the food to fall through, so you kind of have to shake it through. And it makes the tank a little bit darker, but it also gives a great place for the babies to hide, which I like. And then it also pulls out a lot of nitrate. So whenever I don't do a water change for a while, because I definitely try to keep my tanks more self-sustaining now. I've tried everything. I've done the weekly, bi-weekly water changes at 80% every week. And then I've done the planted tanks where I don't do a water change for 2-3 months. It sounds kind of crazy, but I'm just kind of speaking the way it's happened before, and it kind of works out. So that's what I love about the hobby. There's so many different approaches you can take, and how you can kind of raise your fish and condition them to the conditions of the aquarium. So I like this tank. We have some super red plecos in here, which I really like. Let's see. Here we go. So there's a nice little young male there, which I'm actually excited about because I ran out of males. I had only 1 male breeding and I had like 3 or 4 females. Here's the main male, and you can see he's kind of getting older, a little bit washed out. He just kind of breeds back to back to back. I know I could probably separate him, but he's usually doing pretty well, and he's usually more red than that. So he's getting a little bit older, but kind of nature's way. This is the next generation of the male. He's just starting to get mature, and they might be fighting a little bit for territory, and that might be the reason for that coloration change. But we got lots of babies in here. We got some calicos as well, because I put a female calico in here, like the red marbles. So I like getting both of those. Maybe eventually try to get the long fin gene in here. But personally, I think the reds are a little bit of a weaker strain. So I don't know if I want to try to do a too recessive of breeding, but maybe try to get like a long fin black to breed them into one of the males if I can get a female. But they're a little bit smaller too, so it's kind of hard to match up the size. If you have a male or female of same species, they're all bristlenose. I'm sorry, it's hard to see. That's a really cool looking one, both of those guys. Yeah, I like the red marbles a whole lot. And they're cool because they're a cross. So I didn't get them from 2 calicos. I got them from making crosses. So I'm kind of making this gene pool a little bit hardier. Not as recessive, but also, like I said, stronger. Better immune system, everything like that. So yeah, I'm really enjoying these. And there's a lot of babies kind of spread throughout. But we're not going to be able to see too much in this tank here today until I pull some more plants out. We'll keep moving. They're all through here though. Really slow growing fish. I only get about 3 inches. The other bristlenose I have get about 4 or 5 inches. The reds are just a little bit smaller. All right, now we're on the other side of the house. Over here we have the Angelfish. We got the blue Acara right there, the Oscar. But let's jump over to this tank here. So we have 75-gallon tank. With a ridiculous amount of moss growing in the center. Right now we have some plecos growing out, we have some guppies. But today I'm actually going to be putting in, I got a new bubble wand. And it's kind of cool because it suctions to the glass. So I'm actually going to install it today. Because this tank does really well with all the moss and the sponge filters that the babies get to survive. And they do really well in here. But sometimes when you have such thick moss here, or the tank's almost too slow moving, I like the slow moving tanks. This guppy's really cool too. I just got a new male. in there. The sunlight behind it makes the fish look nice, but it doesn't catch them on camera as well. But what I was saying is sometimes it gets almost a dead space, so I've been putting more air stones in here to get more water movement. I like the slower water, and the sponge filters have pros and cons for, they don't suck up the babies, it doesn't blow the fish around too much. Guppies, I found cardinals and neon tetras really like the slower moving water. They'll die more often whenever they're in a fast moving tank, I've just found through experience. So if you ever have a lot of trouble with those guys, maybe try doing with a sponge filter in less fast, kind of high activity fish. I find they do a lot better. But right now this moss is so thick, I want to add some more aeration and some more surface agitation. So we're going to go ahead and I'm going to swap out this air stone, and I'm going to put a bubble one back here today and kind of show you what I got going on. Alright, so just so you can see how it's packaged, it's pretty nice. It's a product by Hygger, and I'll put a link for this product in the description below. If you guys ever check out the description, I always try to put the fish foods I use, any of the products I use. If I'm ever using any special breeder boxes or things like that, or fish feeders, like the auto feeders I've been using a whole bunch of recently. I'll start putting that stuff in the description if I haven't. But yeah, really nice. It's actually, I'll be curious how it comes out, because most bubble wands are like that air stone the whole way through. But this is like almost metal on the sides, and it looks like it has the bubbles through the center. So kind of hard to see there. But we'll see how it looks in a tank. This is a 16-inch. And it even comes with its own tubing and stuff. Got some suction cups, which I do like. I can actually suction it to the back wall. It even comes with a check valve, because anytime you have an air pump, sponge filter, air stone, you want to make sure you put a check valve on the back of the tank, or kind of at the top of the tank, because if your air pump is lower than the water level and you ever have a power outage or something happens, the water can actually, the air is going down, 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 and then cuts off. The water can come up the tube, over the tank, and create a siphon and kind of drain your tank. Never had it happen, but I always use check valves. It's not worth risking it for the $1 or $2 check valve. Always put them on there. Let's go ahead, let's get this in the tank and see what it looks like. Here's a little before of the tank. I'm gonna put it right on that back wall, and right now, like I said, it's kind of a mess, but I just have a standard air stone in there. These guppies are doing a lot better now. They were kind of struggling for a little while. I got some guppies from a customer, and they must have had to have a parasite, so I put some general cure in here, and it definitely did kind of help get this tank back on track. The female's starting to get fat again. Males are swimming a lot more active, and everything's just doing better. But let's go ahead and toss this air stone here, and then what I'm planning on doing with this tank is selling some guppies, selling a whole bunch of moss. We're just getting rid of some moss here, and then I have some angelfish upstairs I want to add to this tank for a grow out. So I think this will be pretty cool. I'll have like 20-30 baby angelfish in here. You actually be able to see in the tank, so it'll be less moss, at least take the top section out. The plecos are big enough now that nothing's going to bother them, because I put them in here right from the cave. So these guys are probably, I could go back and check the video, but they're probably 4 or 5, almost 6 months old. I like doing the plecos more now because I'm not as in a hurry to be selling fish fast. I kind of like just breeding them and having them more self-sustaining. So the plecos growing slow when you're trying to sell a lot of fish, like all the time, every week or two, every month. They're not the best fish to breed, but whenever you have more of a patient approach, they're a nice fish. So yeah, they're doing well. They'll be able to be good with the angelfish now. There's a cool long fin right there. So that might be the next approach for this tank, because I'm not a huge fan of the guppies in here. I got some nice ones, but I just need to kind of go through and be more selective in the guppies I'm breeding, because right now I got like 4 or 5 tanks, and they're all kind of a little bit too mix and match. I want to get 1 or 2 tanks that I really like, maybe buy some new pairs and get some new fish in the bloodline. But yeah, let's go ahead and toss that air stone in here. Wow, this thing's awesome. All right, so we got this plugged in. Honestly, I'm always a little skeptical at these bubble ones, and this is, I mean, I don't want to jinx it because I just put it a second ago, but this is the best looking one I've ever seen. So really good distribution of the bubbles, because it has such a thin, narrow air stone in the middle of this metal wand that usually when they're this long, by the end of it, you're losing all of the air pressure and there's nothing coming out. And I don't even have that much air going into this. You saw earlier, it's the same amount of air from this little air pump that split into two. I got one coming down here for the angel fry whenever I have them down here. And then I had this just on one air stone, and that whole wand all the way to the end is getting bubbles through the whole thing. So that looks really cool. And this tank, like I said, I'm gonna do some revamping and cleaning it. You can see better from the side, but that's pretty good. And they even have, I need to put it on, but a little piece here. So you can even line up the air tube and really make it clean. Right now it's one of just my breeder tanks, but if I were just for a customer, I can even just pull this over. I would definitely tidy that up and make it look real slick, sleek, whatever you want to say. You can kind of hide the cords, have a black background. I mean, that looked really cool, especially I think like a 10-gallon tank, 16 inches, it'd cover the whole background. Yeah, that looks nice. I always thought it'd be cool to do this too with more aggressive fish. So if I got like a 9-inch or something, I forget what the size is, and put that dividing the tank, you could have some more aggressive fish and they can get out of sight of the other fish and almost swim through the bubbles. I always thought that'd be a good idea for African cichlids and stuff like that, where you don't want to fill the whole tank with a bunch of rocks sometimes, but you do want the fish to have territories and not be fighting all day long. If you did like 3 or 4 of them front to back, I bet it'd really help with the aggression, because kind of out of sight, out of mind. That'd be a pretty good idea, especially if you had like larger tank, like a 120 or something like that, a 150 with 20, 30, 50 cichlids in there, or even maybe just like 3 or 4 big Oscars and things like that. Make some dividing walls, almost acting like this for my angelfish, but just with bubbles. Just to kind of, it's not going to prevent every interaction, but I think it would help a whole lot. Ultimately though, shout out to Hygger. I'll put a link for this product in the description below. It wasn't very, they actually sent one, they just sent it to me to put in one of the videos, which thank you guys for doing so. And honestly, this is above and beyond my expectations, and I'm not usually a real big product guy, so that's saying something. Very cool. It'll look a lot better once I actually get this tank cleaned up, and I just stirred some things up, getting my hand in there. With a background and a display tank, that would look awesome. But let's keep moving. Let's jump down here. This tank right now is a really nice tank. I have a lot of bristlenose plecos in here. And this was I think I had a short video I uploaded these guys, must have been 2-3 months ago. But there's some long fins. There are, I think, some calicos. There are some albinos, some commons. You see there's 2 batches of babies in here because that one's a lot smaller. So that's a long fin common. Got an albino there. I think that's a red marble. They're all kind of, there's a nice, I think it's a long fin calico. Yeah, that's a nice one. So there's a good 30, 40, 50 plecos in here. I had some angelfish in here, but they're upstairs now in a 29-gallon tank. And when I show you those guys, they're the ones that are going to be coming down into the 75 above. And I had some baby angelfish in here. They were living for like 3 weeks. I had this auto feeder. I went away for, what was it, Labor Day, or the weekend, a couple weeks ago. I had some feeding my fish, and they just, I don't know, they're not there anymore. So I don't know if the feeder got clogged up and they weren't rotating and dropping enough food in there. I've just been trying to breed the angelfish and raise them low maintenance as possible with just like the first bites and crushed flakes. I don't want to go through the process of doing the live brine shrimp and everything again. And I like my fish to be hardy. So if they're not hardy, healthy, happy, then I'm not happy. So I want to keep them from a good start, and if they aren't strong enough to make it, maybe it's just not meant to be. I'm just keep messing around with that. But let's jump over this tank. Nice little 10-gallon tank. Got some fancy guppies in here. They're doing well. I do want to go through and make some selections and pick out some better males and things like that, because I keep getting really nice females. Like this female is awesome, I think. Like she's got such a unique color to her. And that's what I like about guppies. It's like the snowflake or the fingerprint. Every single one's a little bit different. I enjoy breeding for really nice color and like repeatable genes, but after a while it gets kind of boring in my opinion. It's hard to maintain, so it's very intensive, but I like breeding them and just not knowing what you're gonna get. Like this male right here, you can see him, he's got like that like light blue turquoise color. I think it's really cool. And they're more just like almost like a fancy wild guppy. They're not really, I don't know, picture perfect, but I like them a lot. They're fun. They're swimming around healthy and happy, and they're all a little bit different. Some look more like endlers and have kind of that flame tail, and some have more of that delta tail and thicker body, which ultimately I kind of go for, but I don't know, I kind of let them do their own thing sometimes, and then whenever I go through and reselect them, I'll pick out my nicest males and females, and then over generations you keep getting stronger fish and more color and better genetic gene pool. So yeah, it's kind of a learning process. I think anything in the fish hobby is a learning process. Once you think you know everything, you don't know anything, I think. So keep learning, keep sharing. You guys could probably teach me some stuff. I'm sure, I hope I can teach you guys some stuff along the way as well. There's a nice long fin albino pleco down here. Got some snails that breed a little bit. I mean, the moss in this tank looks sweet. Really good for babies surviving and growing up. After a while it gets a little bit too messy, but I don't know. It's one of those things where you want a bunch of plants growing everywhere, and as soon as it works, you're like, oh, I wish I didn't have these plants in here. So I think just enjoy the tank the way it is at the moment. And then always making little tweaks and adjustments, but I don't know, every tank can be set up in a different way, and that's kind of the fun of the hobby, I think. But let's keep moving forward. This video is getting a little bit long. Check out the next few tanks and get this wrapped up. Over here we got the red tiger Oscar doing really well. I usually give a little bit of flake food in here, which sometimes I'll eat if it's the first thing in there. Mostly for the blue Acara. We'll get some pellets as well. But what this guy really likes are the full algae wafers. You want it? Come here. Oh, you didn't get it. There he goes. Yeah, he'll eat one of those every day. Sometimes I'll skip a day or two, and I'll give him 2 or 3. But yeah, he's doing really well. I mean, it's so rare to get an Oscar or any type of large cichlid that doesn't have any blemishes on it. Like his fins, I think, are perfect. I don't really see any flaws on him. Every once in a while, he'll bang himself into something, get a little scratch, but I don't know. I think there's something to say about just having a nice big cichlid with clean fins, and same to go with the Acara. He's kind of got like no marks on him, knock on wood. Sorry guys, that was not a great idea. But they're doing really well, and I find having them together is perfect. Because the Acara was causing trouble in someone else's tank with the like, tetras and like kind of intermediate community aggressive tank. He was too aggressive, too big. And my Oscar over here, he's getting real sluggish and almost like depressed. Just like any animal or person, they're meant to be around other species and people or fish or animals, whatever it may be. They get unstimulated, they lose their drive. They get just kind of like sluggish, and he just looked kind of sad. Not that that's funny, but him and this Acara, they get along okay, and he will chase him back and forth a couple times a day. They don't actually get into it. The Acara can go over here. He has kind of this wall of plants he hides behind, and it keeps him stimulated. You can see his eyes are just sharper and more perked up. They just kind of do really well together, so I'm happy with it. I always thought I'd kind of move him to the 75 gallon eventually, but I try to be strategical about how I keep my fish and what tanks, and still try to do like the breeding for profit and not put all, this is kind of more of just a fun tank. He used to be here for the calls of the guppies and things like that, but now he's just kind of a little bit of a mascot, just a little Oscar. He's fun, because he doesn't like to eat all the guppies as much anymore. They're almost too small for him. But I'll still eat them here and there. I'll throw them in there if there's anything that has some deformities, and I don't want them to breed and have more like crooked backs and deformed fish, but they're healthy, they don't have parasites. So it's kind of the cycle of life. I like to have the full ecosystem going through the tanks with plants growing, eating the nitrates, the baby fish hiding in the plants, everything feeding off each other, fish breeding, and then anything that needs to be called out can go to the bigger fish and kind of repeat that cycle. Got a couple nice bristlenose plecos in here as well. But let's keep moving over. This tank has a ton of moss as well. But these angelfish I've had for years now. These were the same ones at my parents' house where I had like 75 or 50 of them. I bought off someone on like Facebook. I grew them all up. I kept a dozen or so, maybe 15, and then I sold the rest. I got like 3 pairs over here. This is the parents to the babies upstairs. They breed like crazy about every 10 days or so. On and off, they'll lay eggs and they'll get free swimmers, wigglers, and then usually they eat them or they'll swim through this and they'll get eaten. So I keep trying different things. This is a pair as well. This silver one and that yellow one. And then over here, these guys are kind of just the community. There's some like darker marbles. But this female here, you can even see she's got her tube down. She'll breed with one of these black males as well. So I have like 3 pairs. They all kind of will pair off here and there. But fun tank. I'm gonna feed them real quick and we'll jump upstairs and show you the babies. All right, so over here we got 2 20-gallon tanks stacked. Got my little aquarium co-op towel up there. Here I really like this guppy tank as well. A lot of nice cobra, kind of fancy guppies. They're doing well. They're breeding like crazy and they're all starting to get to adult size and showing their color. So this tank's fun. I got my big male bristlenose in this cave. I haven't been able to find a female that's the right size for him to actually breed, but he's doing well. A bunch of moss in here. Down in this tank, kind of another guppy tank. I think I had some red males in here I was trying to get going. But same thing, kind of just a variety of guppies. And then one thing that's pretty cool, if I can see any of the babies, I had some longfin. I have a longfin bristlenose Pleco pair in here, and I saw some babies for the first time. I've been feeding pretty heavy, and they should still be in here. Oh, here we go. You can see the algae wafer, and there's one guy in the front of the glass. Here's one over here on the edge of that blue filter pad. Some look like might be standard fin, some are long fin, and I can't really see a whole bunch of them now. But it's one of those things I find with the plecos, they hide so well. Usually I'll have babies. Trying to see the male. He's kind of hidden back there. But usually when you see babies, they'll kind of disappear for a week or two, then they come back. I don't know where they go, but they hide against the sponge filter, against the glass and the plants. But just make sure you keep feeding heavy, and then those parents will keep breeding once they start, and the babies will slowly but steady grow. So fun tank. Let's jump over to the angelfish to finish. All right, here's the last tank for today, and this is the tank I'm the happiest with right now. So we have the angelfish in here, and I swear when I was growing these up, I had the babies and I put them in that 10-gallon tank. I only thought I had like 8 of them, and then I was like, oh, maybe I have like 15, and now I'm like, I think I have like 25 or 30. So the bigger they got and I started catching them out, this tank's pretty full in this 29-gallon tank, and I'm really happy with the body shape of them and the color. Probably got a couple in there that have like a little bit of like smaller gills and stuff, but I mean, for the most part, I'd say I'm happy with like 95-99% of these guys. Eating really well, and it's one of those things where it stinks when you're losing angelfish and they're not doing great, but what I'm left with here are super alert, healthy, hardy angelfish. So I couldn't be happier with them. But let's go ahead and feed these guys. They've just been eating flake food, some algae wafers. I'll give them kind of a good amount right now. This is kind of their little feeding corner. Whenever I walk in here, I turned the light on before I came in, so they wouldn't be sleeping when we started this video. But this guy's really cool. He's got kind of like that color around his eye, nice fat belly, good pushed out fins. They're all holding themselves well. I always hate to see, or dislike to see, angelfish are just kind of staying alive. They're not really thriving. I like when they're eating aggressive, they're alert, they're kind of pushing each other back and forth. Just being healthy, normal looking angelfish. This guy's pretty cool. He holds his fin so strong. He's got more color to him. We do have some plecos in here as well. But yeah, angelfish are one of those fish that have been in the hobby for so long, and they're underrated sometimes, but they're just super cool. And I think whenever you buy them, you really should buy like 15 or 20 of them from a breeder and then do them in a larger tank. If you get like a 75 gallon, 90 gallon and put like a dozen in there, I think it'd be awesome. Once you start to get like 6, 5 and lower numbers, unless you have a pair, I think they just fight and they don't do well. There's always an odd man out that's getting bullied and gets sick. I like to feed them dry food too. Even though there's a lot of benefits to like frozen food and live food, I think you start to get parasites a lot easier. And it just kind of messes up the water quality. That's my experience. This guy's got a cool pattern. He's even got some color in his bottom fin when he turns around. His nose is a little bit droopy, but he's got personality. They're all fun. There's another cool one there. They kind of got like a little cow pattern, a little koi to them. But yeah, super happy with these. And I did feed a little extra for you guys today. But like I was trying to say, yeah, if you can get angelfish, whether you can afford to do it at the store and get enough of them, or you can get them from a breeder and get a better price and start them small, grow them up. But if you can get over that 12, that dozen mark, that 15, angelfish do so much better, and they start to school versus pair off and fight. Kind of like African cichlids, and that's an approach not many people do, and I think more people should. So that's my recommendation. If you want to do angelfish and have the least headache, I say you get 1, maybe 2, or get like 15 of them. Just make sure you got the tank space for it, and you're doing your water changes. But that's the best luck I've had with my tank downstairs. And even if you end up with 8 or so, and you lose some, you at least have better odds. And then whenever it comes down to having these adult large angelfish 3 years later, you know you're not going to be stuck with 3 of them that are always fighting. You'll at least have 8 or 10 of them, and then they can actually be able to relax a little bit more, and there'll maybe be one dominant pair in that tank, depending on your male-female ratio, but you're not going to have 2 pairs fighting and then one odd man out, or you never know the situation. So I think there's power in numbers, especially with fish. I got Bianco school of fish because I think fish should be schooled. Whenever I buy tetras and things like that, I usually will I try to buy like 20 of them at a time, or try to buy the whole school in the tank if they're healthy. Just try not to be buying in 3s and 4s and 2s. It's doable, but honestly I think it's kind of, you're not getting as much out of the fish as they are able to give you and kind of enjoyment to watch. So whenever possible, I think you should wait longer, add more fish at once instead of doing a bunch of small adds of different species. Just a little bit of my opinion, but I think we'll wrap this up today by looking at this long fin red marble pleco. That is beautiful. Thanks for watching today, guys. If you want to find where I have those products below, there'll be links in the description. If you made it to the end, give me a comment and let me know. And you guys have a great day. Watch these other playlists if you haven't seen them, and I'll talk to you soon. Thanks for watching, guys. See ya.